I've known Greg for 45 years. We went to Marietta College together back when he had a lot more hair.
I actually met Greg back in high school. We graduated from the same high school. He was an upperclassman 2 years older than me, and what I'll say is Greg was one of the cool guys then. He's still one of the cool guys now.
I met Greg back in 1983, I believe. I was a young kid out of Marietta College, and one of my earliest experiences with Greg was I took out 10 Chinese oil and gas engineers out to Greg New's frack location, and Greg had the opportunity to show these Chinese guys how to frack hard rock.
I met Greg in the mid-'80s and started drilling for Dorfman a few years after that.
We've sold him pipe and products, and he's always been very nice to work with, make sure that he gets a job well done.
I've known Greg for a lot of years. We've worked together for all those years. He's always been extremely supportive of the oil and gas business, always been extremely supportive of people involved in the oil and gas business.
Greg is one of the very first people I met when I took over in this role about a year ago. And he pulled me aside, he introduced himself, and he said, "Hey Rob, whatever I can do to help." So I feel very fortunate. I've gotten to know Greg over the past year, and I'm excited to call him the winner of the Oilfield Patriot Award, but I'm also just as excited to call him as a friend and colleague.
There have been numerous occasions when Greg has been supportive of projects at the state that have supported all of us producers. A lot of those things happen behind the scenes, as his work in the TAC.
I don't think you can overstate the important role that Greg has played historically on the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee.
He was a leader on that because he's extremely competent.
A lot of the folks who are making the ultimate decisions don't really have a technical background, and you need somebody with some good technical expertise that can then explain it, because you get the ear of the people who actually make the ultimate decisions.
He recently grabbed hold of this cement issue that we had.
Getting Class L cement permissible at the ODNR, not only for downhole operations, but for plugging operations. I think that work was tremendous and a huge asset to the industry for both conventionals and unconventionals.
You can't put a price on the importance that somebody like that plays in this association, solving the problems for everybody, right? The rising tide lifts all boats, and Greg really lives that.
He's been active quietly inside the industry over the years, but more recently has taken an active role with the Board of Trustees.
Being on the Board of Trustees with Greg was a very good experience, with both of us being involved in the UIC committee, having water trucks and disposal wells, production. We were able to help in some of the rule rewritings. There's a lot of people that have had disposal wells for a long time, and we're not in the modern era of technologies. Greg's been a spearhead for us to try to carry that all the way through, from the Board of Trustees through the UIC to the TAC. So there's a lot of good things that Greg is doing and continues to do.
He shows up, he participates, he provides input, and I think as a chairperson, that is something that I definitely want on my board, as someone who's going to give input and talk about what's going on in today's world and talk about the advancements that can be made and ask questions.
We are just so lucky to have him, not just affiliated with the association, but to be working so hard every day for the entire industry.
One of the things I admire about Greg is his commitment.
He's the kind of guy that when you ask him to do something, he always says yes.
And when you talk to him about an issue, he just exudes enthusiasm, and he always has a depth of knowledge.
Greg is such a positive, fun person.
A smart guy, always has a good attitude.
He's been what we would call a solid citizen in the oil and gas community.
He's just steady as a rock.
He's also extremely understanding of the plight of oil and gas, and help you through those times when you might feel like you need a little extra support.
Greg New just stands out for quality.
Greg is the real deal.
He's a driller, a plugger, a cementer, a producer. He's one of the unique individuals that does everything it takes to get the job done.
One of the greatest things I love about Greg is he lives a life. He figured out from day one this work-life balance thing. From snowmobiling to skiing to boating and flying his own plane, he lives life.
One of his mottos, I think, is work hard, work smart, and have some fun.
I asked Greg some boating advice. I needed to rent a boat last fall when we went down to little Gasparilla Island. Greg says, "Oh, I got a buddy down there. I can hook you right up." He says, "Just remember, the red light's always on your right side when you're driving the boat. That's good when you're going one way, but when you're coming home, it's not still on your right. So sometimes he's just not telling you the whole thing because he wants you to learn a little bit on your own.
Back in one of the downturns in the 90s, so we're plugging a well for ODOT, and this well came with a 80 pump jack, which is a very large jack that we had absolutely no use for. And so I ended up doing a deal with Greg where I exchanged this pump jack for a top-of-the-line, tailor-made driver. What I'll tell you is that my driver's fallen out of favor, and I'm pretty sure parts of that pump jack are still out there working somewhere hard for Greg.
The great thing about working for Greg is that our hands loved him. The guys all had so much respect for his knowledge, for the fact that he was always even keeled. Greg would never ask a rig hand to do something he wouldn't do himself. One of the things that they absolutely liked on it, you perform, you do a good job. At the end of the well, Greg always came out with the grill and we're doing hot dog, steak, pizza, whatever it might be.
One of the things that Greg always did was he put together a golf outing back in the 90s and it was mostly meant for the blue collar guys. So you're talking about pumpers and water truck drivers, and I grew up as kind of a country club golfer, and first time I ever played golf with a guy who had a buck knife on his hip while he was playing golf. You don't see that very often.
We've had a lot of fun together, and we're close up here in Northeast Ohio. He's a great dad, a great husband.
The other person who needs to be thanked on this is Greg's wife, Fran.
I always had a philosophy that behind every successful guy, you needed some kind of support system.
I'm sure Greg would agree that his wife Fran had a big part in that success.
The company grew, their family grew, they have 3 wonderful daughters, and now they have 4 grandchildren.
He does anything and everything for his kids, just like any father that you would really be proud of does. I'm overwhelmed with the pride that I have in what you've done and become. And Fran's done a great job being the rock behind you, so good job, Fran.
We went to high school together and started dating in the early 70s. We graduated, started local colleges, and got engaged. We each started in Canton, but then Greg decided to change his major as a result of working in the oil and gas industry in high school. Petroleum engineering was offered in Marietta, Ohio. Well, he told me if we got married right now, he'd do really well. And I believed him. So we got married in 1975, and off we went to Marietta. For a couple years, we were what was called dorm parents for an all-girls dorm. Greg was in his glory. After over 40 years working in the oil and gas industry, I certainly agree that transferring to Marietta was the best decision ever. I can honestly tell you that Greg is the most hardworking, most honest, fun-loving, and generous person I have ever met. I am so very blessed that he's the love of my life. Congratulations, Greg.
You know, the Oilfield Patriot Award is our association's most prestigious award. And you can now look back at the history of all the recipients of the Oilfield Patriot Award, and these are people who are dedicated to the improvement of the industry, not just for themselves, but for the entire industry.
When I think of a Patriot Award and what this award means to the Ohio Oil and Gas Association, I think it's someone who's promoting and advancing the industry currently. And I think Greg has done just that.
He's been around forever and a day. He's followed all the technology through the years. He isn't stuck in his own little paradigm.
When you look around the group of trustees, he's just as solid and as good at what he does as any man in the room.
I myself can think of nobody more worthy of this award than Greg.
He's willing to take on the hard jobs. He's willing to pitch in oftentimes where others aren't. And so that kind of leadership is really, really important.
He's the last guy who would ever think he would get this award, but would do the work anyway. But I'm here to tell you, Greg, you deserve this.
You've spent your whole life in an industry and you've strived to do fantastic things and put your effort into making it a greater experience and a more safe experience for everybody. Through TAC, UIC, the Board of Trustees, Greg, for that, hands down, you've done a fantastic job.
First, I would like to thank my brother, Greg, and every single member of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association for producing safe, clean, and affordable energy for our great state of Ohio, the heart of America. My brother's long history in the oil and gas industry started with his very first job. Our aunt and uncle, Bill and Betty Ringelhen, had a business at the intersection of Swamp Road and 619 in New Baltimore, Ohio. They called it the Cozy Corner. It consisted of a single Gulf gas pump with a diner and a soda fountain. Greg, who wasn't even 12 years old, pumped gas in the summer and was paid in milkshakes and cheeseburgers. He did so good, he was promoted to the manager of the grease pit, changing oil and doing front-end grease jobs. The rest is history. Over 50 years in the oil and gas industry. He's come a long way. Congratulations, Greg. You earned this.
Congratulations, Greg. Very well deserving. We're so happy to have you join my brother Doug and me as Ohio Oilfield Patriots. It's quite a group we have assembled through the years. I'm glad you've been my friend for 30 plus years, Greg.
Greg, I want to congratulate you on being the 2023 recipient of the Oilfield Patriot Award. Well deserved. Congratulations. Job well done.
On behalf of ARG, congratulations, Greg. You are a true patriot in the Ohio oil and gas industry.
Greg, congratulations on receiving the 2023 Patriot Award. You are certainly deserving, and you have definitely earned it. Thank you.
Greg knew you very, very much deserve the Patriot Award. I'm so glad that our group chose you as this year's recipient. Good job, Greg.
Congratulations on the 2023 Patriot Award, Greg. You're very deserving, and more than that, thanks for being a great friend all these years.
Greg, congratulations on winning the 2023 Oilfield Patriot Award. It's very well deserved.
Great job receiving this Patriot Award. Can't think of a better person. Proud of you. Proud to be your friend. Great job, Broham.
Congratulations, Greg, on winning the 2023 Oilfield Patriot Award.
Greg, congratulations. I'm extremely proud to know you, and it's exciting that somebody of your caliber and integrity has received this award.
Congratulations, Greg, on winning the Patriot Award. You've worked hard. You're a great steward of everything you have. My sincere congratulations.
Congratulations, Greg. You're well deserving of the Patriot Award, and I'm proud to consider you my friend. Good job, friend, on holding them up.
After learning about the Oilfield Patriot Award, it made perfect sense that you're honoring my dad with it this year. There was one description that especially fits him well. A patriot is dedicated to doing the greatest good for the greatest number of people and is not afraid to blaze new trails and engage others to see their vision.
I remember growing up and asking my dad to take me out on the rigs. I felt so proud to walk around with my dad as he tried to explain things to me. From a very young age, my dad taught me what work ethic looks like. He's a true example of working hard and playing even harder. I've always looked up to my dad and leaned on him throughout my life. He's the most kind, smart, giving, and loving man I know.
My dad is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life, and I get to call him my father, and I'm so proud to know that he has won this award. He deserves it. He has worked so hard his whole life in this business, and he cares about it deeply. It's not only a job, it's a passion of his, as well as educating those about this industry.
Not only is he the most ambitious entrepreneur blazing new trails, or the hardest, most dedicated worker, or the life of the party, but he also always puts others first. He brings his family and friends along on his business ventures. He made sure to instill the same work ethic in my sisters and I. And I'd be blown away if you didn't have an amazing time when you're with my dad.
He's so deserving of this award, and all of us, Dad, we're so proud of you, and take it all in. The impact you've left on all of us and many others is deep.
I'm so proud of all your accomplishments, not only in your career, but as a dad and as a husband to Mom. You've paved a path for Julie Dean and I to create a wonderful life for our own families.
In my career, I've been so inspired by my father. I hope that one day I'll be able to make just a sliver of the impact that he has in his career.
I just want you to know how much I love you and how proud I am to see you receiving this award, so enjoy it.
Dad, thank you for all that you've taught us, for all that you do for your family, friends, and the Ohio oil and gas industry. We're so lucky to have you on our side. Love you. Congratulations.
I'm so proud of you, Dad, and I love you more than you'll ever know.
Congratulations, Papa.
We love you.